We got a noise in the ear donation here from that Pixel Crown saying, "Hey X, have you seen the new iPhones today, or are you more of an Android guy? Love your content, keep it up." Thank you ever so much for your support, I appreciate it. I have not seen the new iPhone. I don't really care for the latest iPhone, but I'm not an Android guy. I do have an Android phone, but I don't like pledging allegiance to products. You know, that's too much consumerism for me. To me, a phone is functional, and I've always gone with Android just because that's what I happen to fall into. I've always been keen on Samsung products, purely because every Samsung product I have still works. I've got triple monitors on my other computer that are like 12, 15 years old, and they still work. And I can't think of a single Samsung thing I've ever had that's broken, and I've still got them all, and they all work, you know. Mainly just monitors and phones. I might have something else that's made by Samsung. Hard drives? No, solid state drives. All my solid state drives are absolutely fine. So yeah, I'm not terribly interested in the new iPhone. But I might switch to using iPhones one day, because I've learned over time about how their privacy policy is probably more in line with what I prefer, as opposed to Android, which is like a data hoover. Like, everything you're doing on your phone is just creating data for Android, and then they use it for marketing and possibly other uses. But iPhone supposedly doesn't have the same philosophy around data. You're more protective with an iPhone. So anyway, the latest iteration of it, whatever it is, whatever model it is now, I don't really care. In fact, I'm not a fan of cyclical consumption and how every year to half year we have to keep pumping out new products. It really concerns me how often we replace phones and whatnot. So my phone buying strategy is to make it last for a long time. The last phone that I had probably lasted me about 8 years. This one I brought with the intention of doing the same again. I have no reason to upgrade it, really. It's doing what I want to do. I'm not a big phone person. I'm not, you know, super worried about how much speed it has and memory or any of this kind of stuff, right? I just want it to be functional, it to work and last a very long time. Don't like the idea of throwing it away just to get a new and faster one, right? So I'm not particularly interested on all these incremental updates that come out every year, but I am also kind of concerned that, boy, like, do we really need to go at this pace and constantly churn out like products that people throw away after a year, considering we're on a planet with limited resources? So the tech stuff, as much as I like tech, as much as I think tech's amazing and I want to kind of know about it and learn about it, every now and then I do go and check out the spec videos or whatever and hear what the latest technology is. I kind of get this like unearthly feeling of like, oh, we just keep churning stuff out. Like, is this the best use of our resources? You know? And so for that reason, I'm not terribly interested in the iPhone. And to me, it's just, you know, I don't want it to be like a big part of my life. It's just, the phone is functional, and I don't want to pledge allegiance to anyone who's making a phone. That's pretty much it for me. I agree, but the updates provide security too, so even though you shouldn't always buy the newest, you shouldn't wait too long, says Peppino Leonard. Possibly true. You can get updates through your firmware, but of course they like to depreciate old phones, which is kind of annoying. I think that's a bit cheeky in a way for me. The way they deliberately build it in, you know. X, it has been calculated. We are recycling 73% of materials, and we'll be able to last at this rate for 300 more Jubilee. 73% recycling, incredibly optimistic. I have heard statistics far more, a lot. In fact, because of my previous work, I kind of know what recycling is a little bit more than perhaps the average person. Based on legislation or what country and what the laws are, recycling is a word, and to comply with it, you have to meet some specifications, right? And those specifications may not be what you think it is. How can I explain? So for example, where I live, a lot of the recycling, the plastic recycling, is dumped into the ground because it will get recycled later. Have they got a plan to recycle it later? When are they going to do that? I don't know. No one knows. But, you know, there have been campaigns to make people aware of, you know, hey, we need to recycle. And so they kind of changed the definition of recycling. And I happen to know where a lot of like the waste from my area goes to, and it basically goes into landfill, and that is called recycling. legally. Apple now makes stuff out of 100% recycled aluminum, says that Pixel Crown. I hope that's true. I hope that's cool, and I hope it's proper recycling, you know. Anyway, remember, a number is just a number. Numbers can be manipulated in so many ways. For example, I'm going to manipulate the number 73% for you now. Okay, let's say I'm an evil, you know, Apple Corporation man. The conspiracy is true. We don't want to recycle anything, right? So, 73%. How am I going to get such a high number? Well, let's actually take all of the things in the iPhone and list them all one by one, right? We'll take some of these parts that go on the circuit board and we'll label them. We'll get those bits from recycled parts, and you know the case isn't recycled, but that's one thing on our list, right? So all these little things could just be small bits inside of the iPhone, but they make up 73% of our list. And then some of the big bits like the buttons, the screen, the case, they're just a couple of things that make up the other 17%, right? 27%. 27%. I'm not saying that's what's actually happening. What I'm saying is that numbers can be a little bit arbitrary and often swayed to suit a cause. You know, not saying that I know that number is arbitrary, just it's a possibility. So if I wanted to be, you know, evil businessman X trying to make a good image for my company, I could make my number out of listed parts, and then when you were to actually add it up by mass, the 17% might be 95% of the phone's mass, and the 73 all those little fiddly bits that we recycle. You know, it might sound like I'm being silly. Sure, I probably am, but I'm just trying to make a point, you know, just trying to make a point about how numbers are can be quite fallible. And here's the thing, you know, I hear these other alarming statistics from people who are concerned about recycling efforts saying that no, we're hardly recycling anything. It's all going in a landfill and all of this. A Half Monty Nun says 80% of all statistics are false. Brilliant. Okay, well that we just went off on one, didn't we? We just went off on one.